GraphicAudio presents an audio guide to Don Pendleton's Mack Bolan. Presented in rich, vivid graphic audio, a movie in your mind. It's a dangerous world, getting more dangerous every day. Open any newspaper and the headlines scream of murder, atrocity, and malevolence unpunished. Bad guys make the news, and the good guys always seem to be one step behind. Elected leaders seem to care more about their own interests than those of the common people who gave them their power. You can't blame the law-abiding citizens of the world for feeling helpless in the face of the rising tide of evil. You might think there's a shortage of heroes these days, and maybe you'd be right. But does that mean they don't exist at all? Or could it be that the battle for justice is better waged in secret, below the enemy's radar? Perhaps one man working outside a dysfunctional system can do more to right what's wrong than any army or charismatic leader. Maybe some heroes are better left unsung. Maybe what's needed is someone like Mack Bolan. I call him by his code name, Stryker. Some people call him the Executioner. The Executioner wasn't always a lone wolf. His career started in the U.S. military. But when his family was murdered by the mob, he was forced to even the score alone, meeting the perpetrators on their own terms, outside the restrictions of law and custom. The government, who at first pursued him as a dangerous vigilante, came to recognize him as a valuable ally in the war on terror. Under the aegis of the Justice Department's Sensitive Operations Group, Bolan frequently recruits two groups of warrior specialists to aid him in his campaigns. Known as Able Team and Phoenix Force, their base of operations is Stony Man Farm in Virginia's tranquil Shenandoah Valley. But Bolan still picks his battles independently, drawing on the assistance of his comrades only when necessary. Always necessary to his campaign against America's enemies are the administrative and technical staff of Stony Man Farm. And that's where I come in. I'm Hal Bragnola, Bolan's facilitator, his unofficial liaison with the president. I'm the head fed of the Sensitive Operations Group. I also like a good cigar, but I'll smoke a bad one if it's all I've got or you piss me off. I was originally tasked with bringing Bolan to justice, but that would have been like scrapping a Ferrari because it got too many speeding tickets. It didn't take too many smarts on my part to see Stryker's value as a covert operative. He's only the most effective weapon on two legs I've ever seen.
Bolan leaned forward and reached under the tail of the denim shirt, where the Desert Eagle rode on his hip. In one fluid motion, he propelled himself to his feet and stepped around the table directly in front of Polyakova. The collapsible ASP baton flew out of its breakaway Kydex holster and into his hand. The Executioner flicked the sectional rod with his wrist, and suddenly, instead of a short 6-inch stick, he was holding 21 inches of steel club in his fist. With his other hand, he brushed Polyakova out of the way. The Ranger was coming out from under Antomonov's jacket as Bolan drew the ASP back over his right shoulder. As the gun came up, he brought the steel baton across his body, striking the Russian squarely on the wrist. Bolan brought the ASP back across his body in a backhand strike, coming down hard on Antomonov's collarbone. By now, the three men at the other table were charging the Executioner's position, their hands all under their shirts or in their coats. The man in the lead was less than 5 feet away, and a small .380 Talon semi-automatic was already in his hand. Bolan turned and took a long, sliding step straight toward the man. The ASP came around in a horizontal arc and struck the oncoming gunman squarely across the forehead. Screams and a few groans now issued forth from the mouths of the customers who had seen what was happening. The man directly behind the leader tripped over the falling man, flying forward and dropping the revolver in his hand as he crashed into the executioner's chest. Bolan turned to the side and caught the falling man across the back of the neck with the pommel end of the ASP, helping him onto the floor. The third backup gunner skidded to a halt a good 15 feet away. He gripped a Taurus PT-911 pistol in both hands and was bringing it up as the executioner brought his arm back over his shoulder once more. A split second before the Russian could find his target, Bolan threw the ASP with the force of a Major League pitcher unleashing his best fastball. Flying past the heads of several shrieking and ducking patrons, the baton flipped end over end across the room, the tip striking the gunman squarely between the eyes. Two things followed. The baton collapsed in on itself, returning to its carry size, and the gunman fell dead on the floor.
Barbara Price is my second-in-command and mission controller for Stony Man Farm. A former intelligence agent, she provides Bolan and the Stony Man teams with whatever technical assistance they need. Whether it's a rental car in Finland or an attack helicopter in Afghanistan, Barbara can arrange it. And I'm just old and politically incorrect enough to get away with mentioning that she's real easy on the eyes. She and Stryker have gotten pretty close over the years. And if from time to time they've managed to find a bit of sanctuary together from the madness of our world, I say good for them.
Stryker.
What is it? What time is it?
Sorry to disturb you, Stryker, but I've got a hot lead on the assassin, and I don't think it can wait. How soon can you be here?
Put on a pot of coffee, Bear. Tell Hal we'll be there at 15.
So much for blueberry waffles.
As head of Stony Man's cybernetics team, computer genius Aaron Kurtzman is the resident expert in communications and intelligence gathering. We call him the Bear. If you ever met him, you wouldn't need to ask why. And I'll tell you, he makes a nasty cup of coffee. Mack Bolan travels in a world where life seems cheap. Greed, ruthless acquisition of power, don't give a damn about the bodies left in their wake. Unlike the enemies he faces, Mack Bolan's personal code is that life should never be taken for trivial reasons, but only as a last resort. Unfortunately for Stryker, he is the last resort. I'm afraid I can't afford to imagine what that must be like. No, I can't speak about the psychological toll this life must take on the man they call the executioner, but I can tell you this. Not a day goes by when I don't thank God He's on our side.
In the gently rolling hills of the Shenandoah Valley, there sits a farm, Stony Man Farm. Cattle graze, farmhands tend a few crops, and workmen run a sawmill. Tourists from Washington, D.C., 2 hours away, drive by and hardly notice the place. They're looking for something else. They want a break from the machinations of international politics. They revel in the natural beauty of the Appalachians, forgetting for a moment the subtle yet ever-present threat of terrorism from within and without the United States. But some can never forget that threat. The vacationers driving by are blissfully unaware of the real work going on at Stony Man Farm. For this bucolic setting conceals an operation at the forefront of America's defense against its enemies. Beneath the simple farm buildings, in an ultra-secret government installation, a dedicated group of men and women work to defend the American way of life against all hostile forces. They call themselves Stony Man. Stony Man is the base of operations for 2 expert groups of commandos, known only to and answering only to the President of the United States. codenamed Able Team and Phoenix Force, and backed by the nation's best technical specialists, they stand ready to deploy at a moment's notice to any corner of the globe where a threat to freedom might lurk. Between the Stony Man teams and the President stands Hal Brugnola, the gruff, dyspeptic head fed.
I meet with the President in less than 1 hour.
Director of the Justice Department's Sensitive Operations Group, he unofficially obtains official White House sanctions for Stony Man's covert operations.
He demanded a face-to-face on this one. I'll be in touch.
Brugnola's strong right-hand man is a woman.
Go ahead, Phoenix One.
Barbara Price is Stony Man's mission controller. A former intelligence agent, she is the ultimate coordinator and facilitator of the activities of the field operatives.
Ship's plans say the beacon has an emergency generator independent of ship's other power grids.
From maps to missiles to C-140s, she can provide it. Because of the global nature of Stony Man's mission objectives, it could not operate without the support of its cybernetics team. Aaron Kurtzman is in charge of the cybernetics team. Nicknamed the Bear and wheelchair-bound, he is an ex-CIA agent and almost a flesh-and-blood extension of the farm's massive computer network.
We've been looking over the schematics and gauging the firepower on board when the tank was heisted.
The rest of the team consists of distinguished Professor Huntington Weathers, young hacker Akira Takaido, and ex-FBI operative Carmen Delahunt. Together, these cyber warriors give the Stony Man field operatives the edge they need to keep one step ahead of their enemies. Phoenix Force. The primary objective of Phoenix Force is tactical neutralization of international terrorist threats. Their job is to succeed where other more conventional forces have failed, utilizing cutting-edge technology in weaponry and communications, as well as their battle-hardened expertise in black ops.
You should probably keep your mouth shut at this point, mate.
David McCarter leads Phoenix Force. Formerly of the British SAS, he embodies their motto, "He who dares, wins." If it flies or rolls on wheels, McCarter can probably operate it. In combat situations, he is fearless but level-headed, the kind of guy you'd want watching your back.
We've stopped at another gas station. We're refueling, Stoney. What's our situation?
Gary Manning is a big, taciturn ex-Royal Canadian Mountie and the team's demolition expert. He is also a born hunter and expert marksman.
In other words, they don't have to pull any punches going after us.
He is one of the few Canadians to be awarded the U.S. Silver Star for valor. Rafael Enciso escaped incarceration in Fidel Castro's prisons by breaking a guard's neck. After a checkered career as, among other things, a marine insurance investigator and a bodyguard, he became Phoenix Force's underwater expert. Stocky and handsome, he is also very handy with a knife.
Phoenix 2 here. There's more of them in the next hold. I'm going in.
Calvin James is also good with knives and in the water, a former Navy SEAL and SWAT team member. An expert in martial arts, he also serves as Phoenix Force's medic.
There's a fracture. It was just a matter of time before he moved it wrong and severed the nerves.
T.J. Hawkins is an Army brat and a veteran of many U.S. military operations, as a member of Delta Force and the Airborne Rangers. He serves Phoenix Force as its specialist in electronic communications and para-operations.
Phoenix 5 here to clean up your messes.
Able Team. Able Team stands ready to neutralize domestic threats, focusing their efforts on North, Central, and South America. They do, however, collaborate with their Phoenix Force colleagues in other parts of the globe when necessary.
Able 2 and Able 3, this is Able 1. Respond now.
Carl Iron Man Lyons leads Able Team. A former LAPD detective, he has been described as a very, very scary guy. Even though he has no military background, he is an expert in karate, and his approach to solving problems is use immediate, overwhelming force. Hence the nickname, Iron Man.
Respond now, I don't care what your situation is.
Rosario Paul Blancanales specializes in infiltration and psychological warfare. His nickname, Paul, stands for politician, referring to his uncanny gift for negotiation and diffusing potentially dangerous situations.
You can live or die, and you have to make that decision. But you're going to go down in history as one of the world's biggest chumps if you die in the plus-sizes lingerie department.
Herman Gadgets Schwartz, true to his nickname, is a genius with devices electronic or mechanical, whether related to communications, surveillance, or sabotage. He is also skilled in martial arts and an officer candidate school reject.
Damn, Stryker. I saw a photo of one of those mini UAVs in a magazine once, and I was real disappointed when I found out I couldn't buy one.
All too often, the enemies of freedom come like thieves in the night to steal our peace of mind. Sometimes in this dangerous world, one can only succeed by beating hostile forces at their own game, using the enemy's own weapons against him. Together, the Stony Man team stands as a silent, secret, and effective antidote to the insidious poison of global terrorism.
Don't miss the action of Mack Bolan's missions in 3 series: The Executioner, Mack Bolan, and Stony Man. You can purchase individual episodes on CD or as MP3 downloads, all available at www.graphicaudio.net.